What's up? It's Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. How y'all doing? So today is that day we get to talk about something that I got inspired about the other night when I was painting some of my ruins for Warhammer 40k, and I'm a big fan of Necron stuff, and so I was painting some things that had some skull stuff on it, and then I'm always thinking about that kind of design because I'm always working with Necrons typically, and that's what I'll be going back to soon. So it hit me as I turned on Terminator Genesis that I just wanted to watch something and realized, man, I'm just enjoying being back in the Terminator franchise. And we've got 6 movies. And needless to say, I think they have some really, really good ones and some really meh ones. And what we're going to do is go through with Tier Maker and rank the 6 films. And we'll go through the different things here. We've got hard pass, like just don't even bother watching it. Please stop. Like this is just not a film that's worth watching. But you could. It's okay. It's the middle of the road kind of thing. It's like it's worth watching to an extent, but it's not going to be amazing. Great. I think these are films that obviously will be like okay, worth it. You're going to have a lot of fun. Best is like this is a top tier, and then above that, just for the heck of it, like this is a movie that truly crosses into the realm of fascinatingly insane and just amazing stuff. So let's go through it. We'll start actually with the lowest rated, to me personally, Terminator film, and we're going to be going through as we go and ranking these things. So let's shift it just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. So the first one is, and it's my lowest rated pretty easily, Terminator Dark Fate. It is a hard pass. Here's the reason why. One, they reset the universe again. This happens a lot in the Terminator franchise, but in this case, it's even worse because they kill John Connor in the beginning. It just does stupid things. They also just basically make Linda Hamilton into, I was just wanted for my womb. And it's like everything in the previous stories was her strength was showing John Connor how to be the person he needed to be. It wasn't just to have the savior. It was also to train him. So she, in essence, was the savior of mankind as well by training the one that was actually going to lead the troops in the future. She was the one setting it all up for him. You see what I mean? Like she had an important role to play. And unfortunately, our modern political correctness stuff and this idea is that women are the best ever, guys stink at everything, and this is what we're going to tell a story as now. And unfortunately, it's just gotten in modern media worse. But people should be starting to wake up as they're losing money out the wazoo. But it's just really frustrating when you watch this film because that's present in here. There are some good things in this concepts. Always Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's there, right? It's always fun. But the really interesting thing is just those themes. The lady that's not a Terminator, but she's been upgraded and she has to like get lots of calories in her after she goes full like super soldier because it really drains her. Cool concept, right? Really neat stuff. The Terminator thing. Oh, also it's not Skynet anymore. It's what was it called? It was something really weird. Terminator. I can't even remember because I watched it one time and never went back to it. Skynet. Legion. Okay. And this happens in another film, and that's why it's kind of frustrating because even in the other film, it was kind of stupid. But in here, like they just straight up go, nope, Skynet's not a thing. And very, very frustrating, right? We'll talk about that other one in a moment here. Now, this is where it gets weird. It's also the main person that they get because John Connor dies. So apparently this 20-year-old like inner 20s girl is going to become the leader of the resistance. But the actress is 5'1", and you wouldn't think that would matter, except for there's a point in the film where she holds a larger rifle, and she can't really hold it properly because it's not made for her. It just doesn't work. It's bizarre, right? Just everything about the film just doesn't add up to a really good film. It has issues, and just that whole thing of girls rock and guys suck, it just doesn't work, because this has been an 80s action film concept that wasn't actually just that guys were awesome and girls were terrible. It was actually that, especially the first one, Linda Hamilton was a waitress. She didn't know anything about this future war, but she had the courage to still fight, and regarded her as a hero. And then Terminator 2, where she is, a strong person, and she uses her resources around her, because she also recognizes that physically she may not be as strong as someone else or a Terminator, and rightfully so. There's ways to tell stories, people, that honor both sides of this, and you have a good experience. And I think that's what we'll get to with the next one here. So let's go through this one, right? Yeah, Terminator Dark Fate. It's just bad, and it just messed up the storyline so much that it just doesn't hit home. The Terminator concept is really cool, except for the one problem too is, and I think that's where a lot of these Terminator films, they get worse and worse as they go, in part because they always want to one up the previous films. And that's a problem, because the Terminator concept of a T-800 is still scary if done right. It shouldn't be that you always have to go to something bigger and better. And yet that's what we do. A liquid metal Terminator should be able to go on a rampage. That's better storytelling, is just show us a T-1000 going on a rampage, right? Or a T-800, because they're effective. They're very effective. Anyway, let's go on to our next one. What do you guys think would be my next lowest film? And you know what? We'll just actually go in the order that's down here to give some suspense. The next one is Terminator Genisys down here, because there's several things. So Terminator Genisys is it's the epic forever, right? It's the best of the best of the best. And actually, it is a please stop. Just watched it. Actually had a good time watching it. What's wrong with it? Again, it's the modern day politics stuff of the girl shows up and goes, "I'm better than you. Come at me, bro." But the one good thing is, because it hadn't fully gotten into all that, is that both sides of that concept actually end up respecting one another, which actually makes it better than Terminator Dark Fate in that way by quite a bit. Let's see. We see liquid Terminators. We have time travel and jump, and that's like the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show, which I actually enjoyed, but they jump to the future. And in this also, Skynet is Genisys, right? It's going underneath a different moniker, a different name. And that's fine as long as it's still really Skynet. So, because they do make the connection that, is it Miles Dyson, I think was his name? His son is ahead over Genisys, but then the whole thing of John Connor, who's been infected as a Terminator and become a Terminator in essence, has jumped back to help them create Skynet. This is where it falls apart, is just those antics, because time travel is confusing anyway, and the Terminator series is going to obviously have those issues. But this is on a whole nother scale. It's like, so Skynet wouldn't have survived if John Connor wasn't there to help it get ready, because it's in 2017 that it comes online, I think, in that movie, which is a ways away from the 1980s films. We're talking, I mean, this is just silliness, right? Silliness. We're on a whole nother scale of silly, just as far as how much time they're trying to portray, just because they wanted to do it in modern day. Not necessarily needed. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it, and it's good. Sarah Connor, she is, the actress is all right, right? She's fine. It's just that there's moments where she's not. Again, she's shorter, and there's a few moments where she just is a little too, I don't know what the right word is, because Linda Hamilton always struck me as tough as nails. And this girl just doesn't strike me as tough as nails. I guess that's just it. And she does fine-ish, but there is that feeling at times where she's trying to be real tough and gruff. And you're like, I can tell by your demeanor and how you're acting, even around the scene and even in the scene, that you're not, you haven't experienced a tough life. You weren't born in a tough upbringing and understand need and hurt. Yeah, it's just interesting observations there. But it's one of those films that just wants an excuse to show you some really cool stuff. And it does. It does. So yeah, I'd say it's there, right? All right. I don't know if there's any other thoughts I have on that one, because that one's just, it just exists. I watched it. I turned it on. Yeah, it's fun because you get to watch robots fight each other. But yet, that's another thing. I guess that's it. Yeah. Towards the, even the middle of it with the MRI machine, and then later on, the reality hits that Terminators have gotten so strong in this film series, and you see this in Terminator Dark Fate, that you can't really kill them without doing certain things that are just so insane. The odds of them working and the Terminator not figuring it out, right? That's the other thing. If these Terminators are super, super smart, the later on editions from Dark Fate and Genesis, they would know to not be in this situation. They would recognize that's a super collider or da 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 da. Right? That's a thing that I shouldn't be around because it'll destroy me. Yeah, that bothers me because they just have to keep one upping, and that we see that in Terminator 3 as well. That they went, so we've seen a liquid Terminator and a metal Terminator. What if they were both Terminator? And then what did they do in Terminator Dark Fate? They literally took that to another thing, and now it's almost like a carbon graphene mist stuff that can separate off from the exoskeleton or the endoskeleton. Anyway, yeah, not exoskeleton, but yeah. So let's go to the next one. The next one is the original Terminator. I struggle with this one. Okay, I'm gonna put it here for now, and we'll talk through why. It is a great film. I don't know that it's the best or epic forever, and here's why. And it's actually not for story, and that's why I might move it up to at least best, because it is that good. Um, it's got, it's the start, right? It sets down a simple premise, and it's a big, fight and chase, and it's a human against a Terminator. Where I think it fails is there's a moment where Arnold is damaged and has to cut off part of his skin around his eye and stuff, and you can clearly see it is a fake head from the 80s, and it's hilarious because it's so bad. And the Terminator at the end, the endoskeleton, after all the flesh has been burnt off from a grenade, or I can't remember what got him. It's stop motion animation stuff, and it looks today very dated. I love watching that because of just, you have to understand, like, this movie is very different. For Terminator 1, $6.4 million, right? Okay, obviously 80s, but then Terminator 2 is $100 million. All right. That's a massive increase in what they could do. Okay. So that being said, what they did with what they had was impressive, and what they gave us was a horror concept of the future, that machines are coming and they will destroy you. They will win. You cannot stop them. And how do they eventually stop it? It's literally with like the most epic explosions and literal factory items. And I believe he gets cut in half or something and still, crawling after her, because all the Terminator has to do is truly grab a hold of you. And that's always bothered me in the Terminator films as a whole, is that the Terminator will grab you, and instead of just holding on, grabbing, neck and squeezing, they throw a person across the room, which then gives the person time to get away. It's for suspense and drama, but it's like, if you were programmed to be a Terminator that needs to kill John Connor, what are you going to do? Get it done, right? It's just that's what's going to happen. Um, yeah, yeah. What do you think? Should we? I think I'm going to have to. I think it is one of the best. Obviously, it's the first one, and it starts the whole thing, and it was so popular that it got people to back it. Um, Terminator 1, how much it made 78.3 million on a 6.4 million budget. Obviously not great, but when you consider how little it was made for, and then Terminator 2 made $520 million worldwide in 1991, finishing as the highest grossing film. It's also still the highest grossing movie in Schwarzenegger's career? Really? I don't know about that. That was January 6th. Weird. So, interesting. I'm learning stuff too. Yeah, so I'd say it's in that best category because it is so iconic. And I love the retroness of the computer program with the red tech stuff, because I think they do still show that from its perspective of the Terminator as well. All right. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Terminator 2. Obviously, it is a hard pass. Don't watch it. It's terrible. Don't do it. No. Right? What is this? Well, let's get real honest. If you know Terminator movies, this has to be number one, epic forever. It is the film that truly, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We might actually just have one in each category. We'll see here. I don't know. We'll see. It gives me some thoughts here. Epic forever. Terminator 2. Arnold Schwarzenegger is convinced to come back and told, you're going to be the good guy this time. And my understanding is he didn't like that concept at first, but then he went, you know what, fine, let's try it. And it nailed it. Like, this concept is amazing because, what's it? Neil Patrick? No. What's his name? T-1000 actor. I can't ever remember his name. Robert Hammond Patrick does a fantastic job as a foil against the Terminator. And Arnold Schwarzenegger has connection with the young actor that they have for John Connor. Linda Hamilton's back, but she's been in like psych ward stuff because people think she's crazy, which, you would if you have somebody showing up and going, the robots from the future are going to destroy us all. And man, it's fantastic because this time a Terminator is sent back to protect, and we have the same story in a way of just this part, right? That a weaker thing is sent back to protect the human. The first one, it's a human protecting the human against a Terminator, and this time it's a T-800 protecting the human from a T-1000, who is much more versatile. A T-800 is on a whole nother, it's tough. And I appreciate that. One of the films, I think, had stated that they're technically tougher. I can't remember if it's T2 or not. And more durable in that sense, but yet they're not as versatile because they're slower. They're an older model. They don't have the updated CPU stuff. And that's fair, right? That's fair. I mean, it makes sense, and it gives you that sense of, oh, crud, this is like an interesting battle. And even the Terminator goes, I don't know how to beat this thing because it's on a whole nother level. It takes literally like, is it liquid nitrogen, I think, at the end, and then lava, like molten stuff in a factory to melt it. And I mean, it's really cool, really good stuff. Why is that movie so good? It's because the T-1000, they did some things in 1990, was it 91, with computer stuff, and it's shiny and it should look fake, but yet they did a good job to make it look believable with what you're seeing. It still holds up really well today. Like, that's the thing about Terminator 2. It still holds up today, and it's shocking how good that movie holds up. Yeah, fantastic. It's one of those that if I'm going to put it on, I'm going to watch it because it's so good, and the T1000 is so creepy and interesting, like Liquid Terminator. And what always bothers me about that is where's his CPU? Because I think that really is what it comes down to, is that the liquid metal essentially has to protect the CPU. So it's not in his head necessarily. It can be wherever he wants it to be. It's probably in the safest part it can be. Like, say it's in its lower left foot. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be somewhere safe. That's why the liquid nitrogen part, I'm confused about how where would the CPU be? Never clearly explained. So I don't know. I don't know. Just a thing. Um, yeah, really good movie. And we also start to see the concept too. I don't think it was in Terminator 1. I don't remember, of them mimicking voices. I can't remember if Terminator 1 had that or not. Probably did, but maybe it doesn't. I know at one point the T1000 and the T800 talk through the phone in T2, and it's hilarious because there's, it's a robot talking to a robot. And it's like the captures now of clicking to a robotic, program device. In essence, I am not a robot. Just kind of funny to see because it's an interesting concept. All right, so yeah, T2 is just a whole nother level. The chase scenes are epic. It's fantastic. Linda Hamilton is a rock star in it. Uh, Good stuff there. All right, our next film here is Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. Actually, growing up, I loved this film. I thought this film was fantastic, and realized that it's got some serious problems. And again, it's really just for, why is there a lady Terminator in that? It's really just for the looks. I hate to say it, but the concept behind it was that there's a Terminator that's got liquid metal over an endoskeleton, and so very tough. So they have the toughness of an endoskeleton with the utility of the liquid metal to do crazy things, because the liquid metal also absorbs things, almost like a blade of armor of sorts, that that stuff will peel away, reform to protect the endoskeleton. So just that much tougher. Really cool. Linda Hamilton is killed off screen from that movie, and that really bothers me because she like dies from cancer from like smoking or something. Which, that, I mean, that makes sense, but it was just like, wow, really, you're just gonna do that? And it's more about John Connor as a young man and Skynet finally getting control of things, and we get to see the actual thing happen. That's what I love about that. Um, and that's the thing, and you get to see like the T1s, the just basically miniguns on a chassis that's just very basic, but they do have the hunter killer drone ships. Um, Really cool, really cool. Yeah, and there was just a reality in the film that you couldn't stop Judgment Day because Skynet was in the internet. It already infected everything, and it was going to do what it wanted. Period, regardless of what you said or did, because it had already actually infected things for quite a while before anybody actually knew it. And I think that is a fantastic piece of the puzzle that is worth just understanding in this concept, right? That's just super important. Um, what do I do with this? I don't know. This is hard because I think Terminator Genesis and Dark Fate are just on a whole nother level of bad, right? I think Genesis is just barely above hard pass at most. And on a personal note, I enjoy Terminator 3. I really do. But at the very least, we should set it right here as an okay film for now. Because the other thing is, we do get to see John Connor's wife, and the Terminator answered to her because John Connor had died in the future at a point, which, not shocking, right? It's going to happen at some point, and like he gets killed. And I think it was by that Terminator, and then they capture that Terminator and reprogrammed it. And I'll say the one thing that really gets me for that is that they make mention of the reason this Terminator killed him, and this, it's a paradox that frustrates me. Not a paradox in an actual like time paradox or anything, but just he trusted this model of Terminator, so seeing that face because of the connection he had in like Terminator 2 time frame, which frustrates me because if he would see that Terminator, he would go, that's a Terminator. But it also, maybe it's just that he paused for a second when he saw him, that kind of thing. Maybe that's really what it was meaning. So to me, in a way, it's actually a great film because I love the concept that Catherine Brewster is the daughter of the military man. That's, I guess it's just the acting isn't good because John Connor is really weird and awkward at times, and even Catherine Brewster, she's better than him, I think, but I think that's probably the toughest part there. And the CGI just looks cheesy at times. We'll keep it as okay. I think it's, we'll see. I don't know. I really like that film, but I know it's not good. But I really like the film because you get to see a Terminator take so much damage from, like, I mean, the TX or whatever she is knocks off Arnold's head and it's just holding on by wires, right? And it somehow gets rerouted and repairs itself. It's really cool, but yet you also go, no, this Terminator would be useless. I don't know. Let's move on. Terminator Salvation, Christian Bale as John Connor. This movie, let's just be really honest. I'm going to put it up actually here. It is best category. I would say it's actually, to me, better than the first Terminator. Reason being, I have always wanted us to have a film in the Terminator time frame, as in not just in the past, but like in the future. Like, I want to see some of the war against the machines. I want to see that. And finally, we got to. Is it darker and grittier and looks different than some of what we were expecting? Yes. There's like that massive mecha Terminator thing, and it looks oily and greasy and gross. And then there's Terminator bike mechs that's almost like just a CPU attached to some sort of bike because they can drive them as well. But yet we got to see, what is it, like a T600 that just has like a rubber coating around on it just to kind of hide it from people looking at it from a distance. But yet when you're carrying a minigun, it's like, nah, that's not a person. But I love the concept of a prisoner on death row that his body gets donated to, I think it's Cyberdyne Resources, and by a lady that has terminal cancer, and they're doing like research into immortality, right? Living past your death. And it's fascinating to me that then he gets, like, Skynet in essence has a black works division or whatever you want to call it, skunk works. I don't remember what the term for it is. It's just like a secret military thing where they've been essentially, because of human stuff before the war happens, right? The nukes get dropped, that the Skynet was essentially constructing human Terminator hybrids because he is actually, oh my goodness, what is his name in the film? Marcus Wright. He's actually still got a heart, so I think he still has a brain, but it's like connected with by chips and programming and stuff to other things. So it's a lot of those things. Oh, Anton Yelchin is in this movie. I forgot about that, right? Man, some good stuff. John Connor, though, I love that they show him as that, and I think that is the most important thing that they show in this film. He wouldn't be the military leader that everybody thinks he's going to be right away, especially when you're the one guy showing up going, oh, I know exactly how this works over here, and this machine does this. Military leaders are going to be like, you're crazy, sit down, which is what they do in this film until they like all get blown up. And I appreciate that it shows us this, that yes, John Connor's going to be the one that saves humanity, but it's also, he has to get to that point as well. And it's going to take time and energy and waiting for the right moment to step up to be the full leader of everything. Super important. Yeah. uh, I just love that film because we get to see the future stuff. We get to see human Terminator hybrids for the first time that, Dark Fate basically takes and just adds on to ish. Uh, One thing John Connor mentions at one point to his wife, right? So they continue that concept of his wife. And I can't remember if they call her Catherine or not in that or not. Let's see here. Kate Connor, so Catherine Brewster. So yeah, it is Kate. Cool, good. And I think Christian Bale does good job for John Connor, and we see him get the scratches that we see in like Terminator 1 or 2 for the future. I think it's Terminator 2 where they show a little bit of the future war, and that's like I love those shots because you just get to see the insanity of it, and now we get to see it, and it looks a little different. But then towards the end of the film, it's looking a lot more like the concept of Skynet and the war that we picture, because it takes time, and Skynet is slowly developing more and more stuff, because as much as Skynet can come up with this stuff pretty quickly itself, building it and having the resources to do it, different thing. And then we get to see, CGI Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he's not in this film, I don't believe, but it's, Terminator thing. But with him being CGI, they very quickly are okay with burning off the flesh, so they don't have to do the CGI of that, but can just do the endoskeleton, and it looks good, and it's a good fight. It's interesting. It's just, yeah, in those fights, that's the one negative I would say, is that sometimes the Terminator grabs him and throws him. But there's also a point where he does just like, is it punch him in the chest? I know at one point he finally gets stabbed through the chest and then has to have the heart transplant from Marcus. And that's also a funny thing that it's like, are they compatible? I don't know. I don't even remember if it actually says it for sure. But it's a great film. I'd say it's got some problems, so it's not epic forever, but yet it's close to it. And yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I say it's a great movie. I'd watch it. I like it. It's cheesy. No. No. It's okay. It's the acting. I don't know what to do with that movie. It just got a little cheesy. That's the thing. These things in the bottom three are more cheesy and silly and think they're serious, but they're not. And it's dumb. And these top three take themselves very seriously. And Terminator 2, you will have some fun because John Connor teaches the Terminator how to say funny things and all these little quips and whatnot. But very, very dark. Oh, and the little like not shark Terminators, but like a massive worm Terminator thing in water that just has claws on the face that just tear into you and bite you. Really cool. Skynet was creepy in this film, and I loved that we got to see some representation of Skynet there, because the one we get in Genesis is Matt Smith, and it's kind of just weird. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for most of these films. What do you think? Is this where you'd put these films? I know, obviously Terminator Salvation didn't do as well as it was hoping to do, but I think overall it showed us. Oh, and that's what it was. John Connor at one point in the movie says they're the Terminators and Skynet's evolving faster than even he was told, which is kind of just an interesting thing that maybe this timeline thing has changed to a bit, but yet we're just getting the picture. And that the thing I love about Terminator Salvation 2, there's no time travel. Yeah, there's nothing. It's just setting up for the other stories, and it's just showing you the war, which I wish we would have gotten another 2 or 3 films. I really do. That would have been epic, because this film, the concept here, I would love it to see the full evolution into not just the nasty functional but gritty basic manufacturing stuff of Skynet that you see, that massive mecha thing. It's still got the big plasma guns and it's still got all that stuff, but it just looks dirty and oily. But throughout the film, you start realizing like you're getting more and more of the stuff we know about Skynet, of the T-800s, of the hunter killer drones, of the big mecha tanks that are really the T-1s from Terminator 3. Just upscaled a lot. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Where do you rank these films? Because we all have opinions on this, and I think there's reason for that, because these are great films. Well, the top 3 for me. And then Terminator 3, you could make a case for some parts being a lot of fun. But I'm Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom, and thank you all for hanging out with me. And yeah, let me know down in the comments below because I'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite Terminator film? Why? And like, how would you rank these? Take care, y'all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.